Number one, this is such a huge thing, is intuition. We call that the sixth sense, and I really honestly truly believe that nurses have honed in their sixth sense, let me tell you. Because intuition is that kind of thing where you just feel like something's gonna happen, and then it does, or you are able to catch something before something bad happens. A lot of moms will say that they feel this way about their kids, and it feels very much like that. Sometimes I'll notice with my patients when there's just something that doesn't seem right, and then I check something and I find out that it's not right. It's just crazy how that works. I've had even a situation where I just got this feeling someone was gonna fall, and I walked in and there they are, and this person hadn't even been getting up all shift, and I walk into their room right when I had that feeling, and what do you know, they were up and they were standing and they hadn't fallen yet, thank goodness, but that could have happened. It could have been very, very bad. So following your intuition, that's something that I have learned is really important, specifically being a nurse. It seems like you become more keen to those senses. Number two is you learn to deal with difficult people. And I did do a video previously about how, mean patients or difficult patients and maybe reasons why that they're that way, so check that video out too. But for the sake of this video, definitely I would say that that's one thing that a lot of nurses become good at doing, is sometimes those difficult patients, they're going through terrible things in their life. Even nurses dealing with difficult nurses, it really teaches you some skills, and sometimes people will say something and you're like, ugh, why did you say that, or like, ugh, and then you kind of feel a little bit off. I've found sleep is like the major remedy for that if I'm frustrated with somebody or something that somebody said. A lot of times I found myself really appreciating and understanding difficult patients, and I've become okay with taking care of them actually. Number three, confidence. Confidence is huge. I cannot tell you, I was a person that when I was young, we didn't even have medical insurance, and I had never stepped foot in a hospital. I don't even remember going to the doctors. We just didn't have a lot of money, so we just didn't do those things. And so I remember when I went into school, I was so intimidated. And the biggest thing is that you have to remember in this profession, you're always going to be learning, and ask questions. I don't care how silly or stupid you may think you look when you ask questions. I think that's super important to ask questions, because that's how you're going to learn. And you just have to think of this. Here's a tip, that in 5 years from now, the people that you're asking questions to, they may never even remember that you asked the question. They may never even remember you. Sometimes I think that we are too afraid to ask questions, but I've noticed the more I've asked questions, it actually builds my confidence, because then I'm able to use that information down the road as a baseline. And then I like to get information from lots of different people, not usually just one person. But the thing that I do want to warn is not to get overly confident. It's a very fine line of still being humble and still realizing that you're never going to know it all, and that you're always going to be learning, and always ask questions. Don't ever think that you know it all. You are like, wow, I feel like I've been a nurse for 30 years, and you've only been a nurse for 1 year. And so that kind of helps, leading on from the previous one, that kind of helps build your confidence too, because you've done so much, you've been through so much. Those 12-hour shifts can be long shifts, let me tell you. And you learn a lot through them, and you see a lot through them, and that helps build your confidence as well. But it also makes you realize how much you can go through and how much of a hard worker you really are. And so it almost pushes you in other parts of your life in different areas. I do have, as I talked about before, that confidence to keep moving forward and knowing that I can do things. You do one thing and then it makes you realize how much you are able to actually do and accomplish as a person, as an individual. And number five, sleep. Let me tell you, I love my sleep, and when you become a nurse or a medical provider at all, sleep is sacred. You do not talk to me when I'm sleeping. You do not wake me up when I'm sleeping. You leave me alone. After I have a 12-hour shift, or when I was a nurse on the floor, even now as a nurse practitioner, my body was physically tired, I was mentally tired, everything drained. And so I didn't even have the brain capacity to be able to talk to anybody after work a lot of times. So, and let alone, you know, having someone interrupt me in my sleep, it ain't happening. You are not going to be woken up no matter what, unless there's a fire in the house or a real emergency. Definitely, you'll notice that as you become a nurse, or as you are a nurse, if you haven't already realized this, that sleep, you find that so sacred. And that's something that a lot of nurses is like, leave me alone with my sleep. My sleep is my time to re-energize my brain. And I've noticed a lot of times when I've had terrible days, that just that process of sleeping and those hours of sleeping just recharges me. And then a lot of things that had negativity about the day before went away. And that's the great thing. It's wonderful. And I've learned to appreciate that about sleep. And that's why sleep is so sacred to me and a lot of healthcare providers. Number 6, back problems. Ugh. So I wish that I could say that back problems were not something that we would have to deal with as nurses, but unfortunately a lot of nurses, because of the heavy lifting, especially if you're on a shift, like I worked on night shift, and I remember we wouldn't have PCTs a lot of time, and I would pull a 300-pound patient with the Chuck's pads by myself. And I even remember one time when I twisted my back. One of the biggest lessons I think that I've learned from that is if you have something happen, definitely make sure you go through the process of getting it documented. We're not just thinking, but we're also physically doing. And so that's something that back problems, that does change you, and it could potentially lead to problems later on in your life. And that's something that to be aware of. So making sure that you have good posture and that you're asking for help, and making sure that you have good stance positioning and all that kind of stuff. So those are the big things, is just try to prevent. Here's my Jaxie. He wanted to be in the video. He likes hugs. Yes, he does. He's my baby. He sleeps by me all the time. Okay, so, and he wants to be in the camera. He wants to be in the video, I guess. So, so one of the things that I've noticed too, and this is probably a bad thing, but you know, as a nurse, you have seen really sick people, and so seeing really sick people makes you maybe a little less sensitive to people. People will say sometimes man colds, which, you know, I don't know if I like that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I like that term. It's kind of a funny term to me, but basically people who whine when they're sick more, you still want to help them, I feel, but it's almost like you're not that sick. Come on. I've seen really, really sick people. And so it's almost like sometimes you become more sensitive. Not everybody's like that, but I have noticed that with some people, kind of like that suck it up mentality. Yeah, so that's one thing. Number 8, respecting old people. So I love kids, and I love old people. And I tell you what, I have such a respect for the elderly, and just because you walk in a room and you think that this person is not with it all the way, don't be surprised, because they a lot of times know more than what they act like they are telling you and saying to you. So I like listening to stories, and I like the way that they respond. And I've really learned one of the things that I need to talk slower when I'm talking to the elderly, and making sure I speak up, and not at a high pitch up, but definitely speaking up. So I have a whole new respect for the elderly, and I really enjoy their company. So a lot of nurses, as you can see, and my nails look not the greatest today, but you can't wear acrylics. That's just a big thing. And if you're wearing acrylics and you're in the healthcare, stop doing that. So a lot of nurses will have just nail polish on, and you have to make sure it's not chipped. So if you are going into the nursing field and you are just in love with your nails and you have to have your nails done with the acrylics, you can't do that. There's a lot of bacteria that's harbored in those nails, and so that's something that, that's a part of your lifestyle, and that's who you are, and you don't want to give that up. you're going to have to give that up. Unfortunately, that's something that is just the nature of the beast. So a lot of nurses will wear nail polish instead. And hey, we rock. I have a whole little display of nail polishes like you see at like the nail salons. I still go to get my nails done, like a pedicure. I love pedicures. I've never loved pedicure. I remember years ago I used to think, why do people get pedicures? That's so silly. I'll tell you what, pedicures are the bomb.com, and yes, even though that saying I think is a little bit outdated, they are definitely needed. And the final thing is multitasking. If you were not good at multitasking before, you are going to become the pro. Let me tell you, the pro at multitasking. Because as a nurse, you're always thinking ahead. And so even if you think that you're caught up on your stuff, no, you're not caught up, because something can change at any minute and you need to remember that. So even in my daily life, what I have found, I was turning on my computer, and even as I was turning my computer and it was taking a little bit of time, I was restarting it, I was like, what can I do on my phone? I gotta start doing stuff on my phone, and what can I don't want to waste this time. So I'm always thinking like that. That can actually be a good and a bad thing, because then you learn not to enjoy the moment sometimes, and you think you always have to be doing something. Notice that I've always been like that, but never quite as much as I am now. That's it, guys. That's everything that I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to our Med Made Easy YouTube channel, and also make sure to give this video a thumbs up to let us know that you want more videos like this. We do educational videos, study tips. We cater specifically to nurses, nursing students, nurse practitioners, but all medical professionals. We're also found on other social sites like Pinterest, Instagram, and also Facebook. Go over and like our Facebook, and we also have a nursing question and info group, which definitely you have to sign up for that. Alright guys, till the next time, take care.